Being.
All right. So, Miss Ryrie, thank you for sitting down with me, and we're going to kind of go over our school survey over Fall Creek. What grade do you teach currently?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade. So, what subjects?
Math and science.
Math and science. Awesome. And how long have you been at Fall Creek?
This is my 11th year. I opened the school.
Awesome. Okay. And how many years have you taught before this?
21.
21 years total. Wow, that's awesome. So you kind of have a good idea of what the school's cultures and things are like, especially throughout the years. Things have changed throughout the years of you being here. Okay, so we're just going to go through a few questions and just give me your honest answer, and you can explain to kind of give some evidence or what you think would be the best option.
Okay.
All right. So do you think the school schedule allows for adequate time for teacher collaboration?
No.
No. What do you think needs to help to boost the teacher collaboration?
I don't know where we could build in some time. We tend to all have different planning days, like math plans with our math alt on one day. And normally when we do PLC, that is just somebody telling us about something.
Right.
So we really don't, as a team, ever get to sit down and say, let's plan this and let's do this and let's do this, and how we hardly ever get to hear ideas from the other subjects or anything.
Right.
As you know.
Right.
Yeah.
To kind of collaborate. So maybe even collaborate with reading on something y'all are doing in science, or
even difficult with my partner. We would love to do one of those classroom. We have planned to do several of those classroom transformations.
Right.
But she and I have not been able, we hardly ever get an opportunity to get together. We don't even, something that would be normal or natural, like if we were both out there during recess, we could at least, those little moments.
Right.
But we're not even out there together. So it's hard. It's hard to find the time.
Right.
Unless it's before school or after school.
Right. And that's all personal time, which makes it hard.
Right.
You're right. Awesome. So since the school doesn't allow for adequate time for collaboration, what about planning? I know you said we do PLCs. Do you feel that your planning time is beneficial, or do you feel that you are using some times that could be used in other ways for planning?
I find our PLCs to be a complete waste of time. It absolutely, unless we're being given some information,
right,
that could probably come through an email.
Right.
Our PLC time is a complete waste of time. I don't believe, and PLC is just something that's recently new.
Right.
This is actually the second year our school has had a formal PLC time where we're all supposed to meet. Or at least fifth grade was included. Fifth grade didn't used to be included in PLC.
Really?
No. This is our second year being included in PLC. But I've never really sat through anything that I felt, maybe when we sat together and tried to write a grant for that foundation.
Right.
Maybe that was helpful, but that's because the person doing it had all of the prior knowledge, and so it's like she had the knowledge, so we had to go to her to do that. But no, we don't have an opportunity.
Right.
No.
And so you're having to spend your time also, like you said, planning, but preparation to actually get your materials ready. You're forced to do it before school or after school,
Absolutely.
Not using your planning time appropriately.
Very little time, actually. We only have our specials time keeps getting cut down because of our size. So we're down now to 45 minutes?
Right.
And when you consider us, the walk over there, the walk back, normally, you take care of things that are in your mailbox, things like that. They're really, planning takes thought, and planning takes, if it's going to be meaningful, you have to have some time to sort of think about. I absolutely love being able to plan with other people, but even when we plan the science, my team comes in here, we're super hurried because they've either come back from doing something or hurried and made copies of something.
Right.
So it's a 15 minutes here, this, and this, and this. We've got it down now to whoever is in charge of that week for the topic, just hands everybody some copies of something, say, try using this. But that's not really planning.
Right.
And I've had experience with real planning where you have the creativity and where you're able to look at where you're going and what your goal is and start with a big picture and start. Right. But I can't. It's just really, really hard to find people to do that with.
Right, and it goes back to the collaboration, like you said. There's just not enough time for collaboration.
There isn't. Right.
Ties in.
Right.
Well, good. That's unfortunate, but it is very true.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So talking about students in the school environment, do you feel that the school has learned ways, or that the students have learned ways to manage their time? Do you think the school has taught the students to manage their time, or no?
I think, I'm always very impressed. Every single classroom, they may not be doing exactly the same thing at the same time, but right. I see that engagement where the children are all engaged. It's really wonderful. I really admire that.
Absolutely. So when you're walking through, do you feel that the school grounds are safe when they're in the hallways, in the bathrooms, in the classrooms? Do you feel that the students feel safe?
Safe, for me, mm-hmm. for example.
Okay.
We used to bring our fifth graders into enrichment. Mm-hmm. You bring fifth graders into enrichment, there was always fourth graders in the bathroom. And every time I walked in, seeing those hundreds of children in one hallway, every time, the first thing that came to mind was, we're breaking fire codes. Absolutely. And if in case of an emergency, this is going to be bad, because there's just so many of us. The other side of the building doesn't have big bathrooms for big kids.
Right.
So we are, as big as we are limited to either using the bathrooms in the big hallway. But normally if you're coming out of specials, mm-hmm. fourth grade coming out of specials, fifth grade going into specials, fourth grade would line the entire hallway all the way down to the computer lab. Mm. And then we'd be walking, and it was person to person, and every time. So safety in that way. I also feel like when there's so many kids in the hallway, mm-hmm. For example, let me give you a perfect example. Fourth and fifth grade, dismissal right here. If you stand out here on this side, you see kids, I am surprised that, so when I'm talking safety, I'm talking like them getting hit,
right,
or anything like that. I'm not talking stranger danger, right. Safety. It's a miracle we haven't had more incidents. There's fourth graders running this way, fifth graders over there all cramming in front of the door,
right,
because they're all trying to get into two rooms. Mm-hmm. So in that way, the glut of kids,
right,
as they're walking, some of the kids are not going to be very mindful of other kids. You know, we have those behavioral mm-hmm. problems.
Of course.
And I honestly always think, if I was a kid trying to make it through that gauntlet, I would worry every single time how to make it through that.
Right.
You should stand, you know, I wish you could stand here and and see. Yeah.
Right. And I can see just from even being on the other side of the spectrum down there on fourth grade, it is kind of hard to get through, and children are constantly, the ramp is not wide enough, they can't fit through, you throw in the backpacks, if they're not in exactly one straight line, a lot of danger can happen if they're, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and not to mention the critters out here in the portable buildings with the
rats,
beehives, the rats, the wasps.
And the wasps getting strong. And I also worry it'll be really good as far as the stranger danger thing, mm-hmm. especially for us, for people who think that they can just approach our classrooms. Mm-hmm. It'll be great when, you know, this fence out here, do you know that this fence out here has only been up 1 year? You realize
so that's
that there were portables out here this close to the parking lot, this close to a street over here, and there was absolutely nothing there.
Wow.
Nothing. It was one of my parents. It was one of my parents when we got ready to move mm-hmm. to fifth grade, who her husband and she started talking to the district and complaining, and they put, so this fence is only a year old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So definitely needs some improvement for that. Okay. So obviously the parents, you feel do not feel that their children are always safe, especially out here in the portables.
Absolutely.
I can see how inside the building, you know, especially with the new safety measures, but out here, parents are probably still a little nervous.
It's amazing what they've done with the safety
mm-hmm.
inside.
Right.
It's amazing that our principal realized how vulnerable we were and how mm-hmm. open we were, because it really is. But until they put another fence up there. I think it'll be a lot better once they put another fence on the other side. But I mean, it's just almost mind-boggling. You new teachers don't realize we're this close, honestly, to that sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then past that sidewalk is just a parking lot.
Right.
And children were going to the bathroom. Imagine a car right there. Children going to the bathroom, children going to dyslexia, children going to speech.
Right. Through parking lots and not.
And absolutely no barrier at all right there.
Right. And they're still pretty young, especially fourth grade. Even fifth grade, as a previous fifth grade teacher, they may be older, but they're still not fully capable of understanding and knowing.
But you know that before we were here, art was here, dyslexia was here, which meant that kids.
Everyone.
So if you were a second grader and you were in art and you needed to go to the bathroom, you were walking.
Wow. Even
with a partner, but you were walking. It really, now that we've got that fence,
right?
You wonder, like, how did that happen? How did we let that happen?
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. So moving into the students' learning, do you feel that that students here at this school care about their learning or don't care about their learning?
Okay, it's hard, you generalize, but there's always the outliers.
Right, always the outliers.
Overall, I think very much that they care about their learning.
Do you think the district where they've moved with the portrait of a graduate and moving into the personally responsible has played a factor in that, or do you think before that this school has always had that?
I don't think that portrait of a graduate, and as I'm talking about it, I'm talking about lower than fifth grade, but even then, it makes any difference to them.
Right.
They're not in their mind, they're not saying, I'm going to do this because of the portrait of a graduate. I'm going to do this because, honestly, and again, I'm talking in general because there's always the outliers, amazing teachers. Amazing teachers that we have here.
Always goes back to them. Very good. Okay, so looking at the school community, do you feel that the community has high expectations for these students and our school? How do you feel about the community thinking about us?
Oh, our community?
Yes.
Our immediate community has very high expectations. I have been here since the school opened. We have always had incredible parental support. And it hasn't waned. I have grandchildren in other schools, and we talk about their PTO or their PTA, some of them. And it amazes my kids when I tell them about our school and our PTO support.
Right.
They've really been not only supportive of our school, but also very cognizant of there are things that the kids need. Like this thing they just gave us those sticks too.
Right.
Like, I've never even heard of that, but yet they thought about it. It's not just the physical support they give us by purchasing things, but something like this.
Right.
Is supporting the kids and supporting us being able to encourage them. So
right. So much different than other schools that you've been in the past.
Oh, our PTO, hands down. Our PTO, absolutely, hands down, the best.
Right.
The best.
Awesome. And that goes back to those high expectations, like we said, for the immediate community. So I know we are a large school, but do you feel that our class enrollments are too large?
Yes.
What can we do?
Oh, by far. Well, the first thing that needs to be done is, and this is something that's known to everybody, is we have a lot of people here that are not within our school boundaries. It's pretty clear.
So is it staff kids or just people using wrong addresses?
Oh, no, not staff kids at all. This is good for you if you have kids and you're able to bring them to school. No, it's people not in our boundaries. At one point, the school across from us was so low performing. And I think that's where it started to get out of hand, that those parents were allowed to go ahead and send them because it was a really, really, even though it was it was a school that was built right before ours, or one of the schools right before ours, a relatively new school.
Right.
But you have all of those schools in that area. Oh, absolutely. I think also since the school opened, all of the apartments that have been built, I think we need to rezone that. There's another apartment building going up.
Right.
So when you have a fifth grade teacher at Humble Elementary that I've sat with it, and she's a fifth grade teacher, and she says she has 12 children in her class.
Wow. And we have roughly 24.
Yes, it isn't necessarily that there's not enough people that live there.
Right.
Or the school over here, the new one that opened right after us, and it was supposed to alleviate some of our population. It only really took about 200, 300 kids.
Wow.
And because I have teacher friends that, not teacher friends, but they were worked with a special ed or worked with, they went to work over there, and that school was underpopulated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So students on our campus, do you feel that they're given adequate time to work independently and be creative? Or are they forced to stick with the plan and stick to worksheets?
When yes and no. I hear sometimes in talking to some of my like kinder teachers, first kinder teachers, and this happened recently, like within the last maybe 4 or 5 years, where they were having to go more towards, you're supposed to know this and this and this and this and this, and it was more towards like paperwork of these little kids.
Right.
And so that was something that was alarming to them, that they were having to do more of that.
Right.
And not enough of that natural learning that takes place when they're playing,
right,
or it's more constructed. But overall, I think that there was a period in our school where right before the STAR test, you were expected to put up all of these STAR motivation goals outside your door, outside your walls, like I want to make this on the, so STAR became, but I never did that. And I'm really glad that we've gotten away from that.
Right.
No, I think that at least the teachers that I know are constantly finding ways
trying
to do more than just, giving them the worksheet. I really do.
Right. Well, good. How about when you're receiving feedback from administrators on your teaching, do you feel that it's useful, or do you feel that it's not really useful for future teachings?
No, I appreciate. I like their feedback. It's always been helpful, but it's always, it's always been complimentary.
Right.
So it's
good. How are students being encouraged to think critically, or are they not being encouraged to think critically?
Overall, I don't think that that's a topic that's very much addressed. Although that's one of my, especially this year, I am seeing a trend year after year after year, and I know that it has to do with the culture, where students are very superficial thinkers. And this year for me, it reached sort of an alarming. So one of my goals, in fact, it's one of my professional goals.
Okay.
But it's also one of the goals with the students. For example, my students now, when we talk about deepening our pathways and strengthening our synapse connections. Right. Because my kids know all about the beginning of learning is you get these brain cells that you make that pathway.
Right.
And we talk that way, and we for me, has always been a goal. In fact, it's really hard. I have things on my wall and everything, is teaching them to question each other, teaching them to. I think that is. I don't hear any other teacher talking about that. That's always been something that I've tried to do. But this year for me, it's almost reached an alarming rate of students are tending to come to school now with just sit there and entertain me and tell me what you want me to do. And so by the time they get to 5th grade, it's no.
Right.
Yeah, so no. But I think overall, I don't think it's something that is because teachers are meaning not to do that.
Right.
But I don't think they know
what's happening or what it's leading to.
And what it's leading to, and they know. I don't think they know that this is happening.
Right. And
how am I going to stop it?
Right.
I think overall critical thinking is something that's being lost.
Yes.
I have my own theory about why, but it's pretty obvious.
Right.
With all of the technology and all of the just sit there very passively, and
everything's at their fingertips as well. So good. So this kind of goes back to the planning and preparation, but do you feel that you have access to tools that you need to do your job efficiently? Proper tools. That could be technology, that can be plans. Do you have all the tools you need?
No.
Or support staff?
Absolutely not. Any tool that I have, you see in this classroom, bought by me.
Right.
Everything you can, with very few exceptions. Time and time again. Thanks to the PTO, we've now got some Chromebook carts. We used to have one for the entire school.
Wow.
You came in now to 3. But I have to tell you, time and time, whenever we would do one of these school critique things, the one thing that I would criticize is, I am embarrassed that my 5th graders in this age of technology are having to draw and color on construction paper to do a project. It is embarrassing to even say that.
Yeah.
Even us with our technology, we have a Chromebook cart that we share amongst us, but you're constantly dancing back and forth with, when can I use it? And so what can I plan on that day? When can I plan this activity to do this? No, absolutely not. And we need more technology. But you know what else we need? We need more technology training of our children when they go to specials and they go to computers. They're in there playing games.
Yes.
I've asked for them to be taught to do graphing. I've asked for them to be, some of my kids, for example, all of my homework is on Google Chrome.
Right.
Excuse me, Google Classroom. It has taken, how many weeks are we? 6 weeks? I was surprised that it's taken that long. And then, of course, you're training the parents, too, because
absolutely
they're frustrated. They don't know what's going on. But time and time again, it's like teaching them even to do a document or the latest 2 homeworks I've done is create a slide. Even that. They're in 5th grade. And I really think that by the time they're in 5th grade, they should have some keyboarding skills.
Absolutely. More than just a game or texting.
We absolutely do not have, we don't have that.
Right.
And again, if it wasn't for the PTO, I just was putting away materials bought by the PTO for us.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed when we've received the Chromebook cards, not only are we receiving them certain times, but sometimes they're not working because they're outdated or they need to be updated. And you've got 5 kids who don't have a Chromebook now because the Chromebook's not working.
And you got me started on that. So we used to have just one iPad card. That old iPad card that they now dismantled.
Right.
That was it.
Wow.
But here's the thing: you don't have a flash drive. So anything in the iPads don't have a flash.
Right.
So anything that you planned for the kids, it was meaningless. But another problem with the Chromebook cart, I personally, after several years now, we started with 1. Last year we had 3. But our technology person, there's a situation, and I know it may seem trivial, but it is not trivial when you have an entire class waiting to use it. You get it from someone, and it's not plugged. They're not plugged in.
Right.
The cords are all over the place. I personally took and I took every single one, wrapped a rubber band around each cord.
Right.
But there's also that problem that you're expecting to get it from somebody, and unfortunately, that teacher has not been very forward thinking to plug it in.
Absolutely. So. Yes, I totally agree.
So in other words, you can't, if you plan on a Chromebook cart, it may not go your lesson. You may have to spend some time getting it ready. It isn't something that you can take for granted and say, all right, so what we've done in 5th grade? We are encouraging kids to bring their own devices. We have out of a class of about 24, probably 8 on a daily basis bring their own iPad. We let them use their phones when it's for school.
Right.
Like, for example, I did an activity yesterday that required a QR code. I had an iPad for reading it because I just set it up and they would put, this boy had his phone and he could use. So in 5th grade, but you can't do that in 4 and 3rd.
Right, especially at the
younger
ages.
They're not responsible enough. So in 5th grade, we're saying whichever parent allows you to, bring your own device.
Awesome. Well, that's good because, you need to get it done. And so if you don't have the tools, then you've got to do your own.
And the kids don't leave it. They have to take it home. They have to be responsible for charging it, bringing it back charged.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very good. So moving into relationships, do you feel that the teachers or yourself, you have strong relationships with these students?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Do you think the new principal has had anything to do with that, or has that been something that Fall Creek has always done in the past?
In order for our school this big to work,
Mm-hmm.
I really truly believe it is a testament to the teachers that have been here all this time. It is impossible. I mean, you think about it, a school this big, how we run, it's a fine-tuned dance that we have to coming and going, and it would not work if it weren't for how professional the teachers are, how caring they are.
Right.
And not only caring about the students, but caring about making sure that the school is functioning. Look at what we do. Our lunches start at 10. Our lunches end at 1:40.
Right. That's
which is absolutely insane.
It really is.
And that's a lot of movement constantly throughout the school. I think that it's something. I love the things our new principal is doing. I really like how she recognizes us. But I'll tell you, this school has run like this and has been such a good school because we have a really good rating, a really good reputation.
Absolutely.
But that's a credit to the teachers that have been here and have found ways to just make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing for an elementary school the size that we are compared to, I mean, even looking at the middle school, how big they are. We're not far behind them in size and numbers and things like that.
We had, there was something that happened recent, about a year ago. I can't remember now, but some of the counselors, in fact, they were here. They came here the other day after the death of that little boy. Because I saw the man here. And he stood up, he did one of those professional development things. And he said, "Oh, you guys are the size of a middle school."
Yeah, it's
but we were not built to be the size of a middle school.
Right. So, looking at administrators and teachers, do you feel that teachers are involved in decision making and problem solving around school for different issues that might come up?
In the past, we have been sort of, kind of. Right now, our administration is really young, but from my own personal experience, I know every time we've met with our principal, she encourages us to come up with a problem, but also come up with a solution.
Right.
So I think she is very, very, in fact, I personally, the situation with the buses, the minute I said that, she immediately, not 1 second wasted, she said, send the email out. So yes, I think that we are very encouraged. But I like the fact that we're encouraged to not just come up and bring up a problem, but come with a solution.
Right.
And she actually is willing to listen.
Very good. Well, Ms. Ryrie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you going through all of this with me. And it feels like the school has moved in the right direction. Do you have anything that you want to add about our school culture or what we could do? Or
No, I really do think. It's funny. There are a lot of teachers and there are a lot of new teachers. But you kind of get a sense by walking. There are a lot of teachers here that I've known for several years. And then there are a lot of new teachers within the last 5 years that I've gotten to know. And with very few exceptions, it makes me really proud to be here.
Awesome.
I think I work with a really, really good group of educators. And I'm pretty fairly, not even fairly, I'm pretty outspoken. And I would have no problems. I have had no problems calling out or voicing my concerns when I see something that I feel is detrimental to the children in that classroom. Because that's the bottom line. It isn't about whether or not I like you personally. It's about, and even I may not know that child. I may not have any vested interest in that child. But it's about, these are children. This is our job. And as a parent, they're spending more time with us. They spend more awake time with us than they do with their parents.
Absolutely.
And so I want to make sure that every single child gets what they need when they come here. So I have always been, there are a lot of women here that I just really admire. I gauge it by saying, I can't help it. I just naturally say, if I can think in my mind, I would love for you to be the teacher of one of my grandkids. And I always have that grandkid in mind. And then that means you're okay. And there are a lot of people here. Oh my gosh, Miss Edson, Miss Hawthorne, Miss Andrews. I could go on and on and on. Some of them I don't even know their names.
Right.
There's a lot of people here that would say, I would love for my grandkid to be in your class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
very good.
I love being here for that reason.
Awesome. And I'm glad the culture seems to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And with good teachers like you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Ryrie.
Honestly.
Thank you.
She's brought on some really good people.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I will definitely
Thanks for asking me.
get back with you another time.